the show, ladies and gentlemen, so please bear with me. Do the best I can.
You always do the best.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
See if it's coming up.
Should be popping up here right about
There it is. We are live. All right. Well, while we won't see a real green flag actually waving for a while, the green flag continues to figuratively fly every Monday at 6 o'clock right here on Done Right TV. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Go Fast podcast on Done Right TV. Go Fast brought to you by Done Right TV, also Dish TV, 1-800-WATER DAMAGE, Varium Racing, Bibster Promotions, and Simply Modified Photography. Hi, I'm Rob Hinckley along with Kelly Jeffries. And I tell you what, Kelly, it's been a wild week. Whether you're paying attention to the world or trying to get a racing season going, anything along that line.
Yeah, it sure has. Sure has. You had a nice race on the way home from Florida there, didn't you?
Only 18 hours, yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't have won the Cannonball Run, that's for sure. But it was crazy, but we made it. And we're also joined in the studio by Matt Ryan and Terry Ryan. What a great pleasure to have them. And so we got a great show coming up with them. Well, the red flag out on all racing for a while as we get into our news, brought to you by 1-800-WATER DAMAGE, restored for you by 1-800-WATER DAMAGE, restoring what matters most. Not a whole lot to talk about. Donaldson is already called off for this week, the Mars Racing Series. We don't have any official words on East Moline or Davenport, except that we know that they're still shooting for their date. But, of course, the practice dates are just a week away, so we'll find out in the next few days for sure. And monitor them. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of Bruce Strata. Bruce from Quality Plus Auto Body in Rock Island. Good supporter of racing. He passed away earlier this week, so our thoughts and prayers go out to him. We got lots to do this week, even with no racing going on. And my pleasure now to bring in last year's IMCA Late Model National Champion, Matt Ryan. Matt, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. We appreciate you being here. And we got his dad, Terry. Also, Terry, thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks for having us.
We're glad you came in and came in on short notice. I just messaged you last night, and you're here, and we appreciate it. And first of all, and Matt, you're for the people that don't know, Matt's a school teacher and that kind of thing. So how in the world are teachers and kids dealing with the COVID thing right now?
From the teacher side of it, it's definitely a strange world these days. I spent most of the morning on a Zoom conference call or internet meeting with my boss because we can't meet together all in the same spot. And that was definitely a new thing for me to experience. My kids, they went to their first day at school at my house. My wife was their teacher for the day. That probably could have went better.
Seeing a lot of all these memes and stuff people are posting about the fourth day home with the kids and that kind of thing, and that's reality, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we're on spring break all last week, so any plans that we had were pretty much canceled. We just stayed at home all week, and I was like, I'll get to the weekend and do the same thing again. So we're getting a lot of movies in.
I bet. Well, again, results and news restored for you by 1-800-WATER DAMAGE, restoring what matters most. We move into our next segment, which is called Around the Track, Around the Room, powered by Varium Racing. And guys, not a whole lot to talk about racing-wise, but we were talking before the show, Terry, you guys are all set up and ready to go.
Yeah, we're never done early. This year we got it done earlier. We're ready to go to Memphis, and it all got canceled.
Wow, and just like that, and had you been to? I'm sure you'd been to Memphis before. What were you expecting out of that track?
Last time I was at the Memphis racetrack, I was helping Raleigh Franklin. It was probably 1974.
Wow. Well, now that was going to be the new SLMR, the Holland with Hoker East series, and. Both of you, we'll start with you, Matt. That the late model world has kind of turned upside down on the off season. No more Deary Brothers, and this has come on. So, what are your thoughts?
When we were at the banquet and nothing was going to change, and then we get the news like a week later that the series had been bought. I was actually really excited. The Kosiskis do a really good job on the series out west, I guess. Right. We've run with that series a few times. It was always a good experience, and I was just really excited to get the plate off the crate motor for a change. With no plate and having some horsepower back was a lot nicer than the crate experience.
Putting the car together, Terry, and getting it ready, what's it like? What's the difference between the IMCA and the SLMR for you?
Well, you got to kind of keep an eye on, you're not just running the plate this year. You got to have a plan for same motor. It's just, you take the restrictor plate off, but you got to have a plan for that too. So we've done a little work with carburetors and headers this over the winter, and we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Excellent. Now, national champion last year with Corey Dumpert from Nebraska, and for IMCA. Now, are you going to do any IMCA racing this year?
I fully intend on it. Our weekly tracks will race at Davenport Speedway. We'll run Burlington 34 Raceway, and we'll run East Moline to start the season off. And those, I'm from the area. It'd be hard pressed to stay home from any of those events. We'll start off running the series, and those paths do cross at around mid-June. So hopefully we're getting any racing in by mid-June. So I guess we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Well, and we'll use that as our around the track, around the room, the effect that the COVID-19 coronavirus, whatever you want to talk about, it is having on racing. Mostly, it's just kind of sitting around twiddling thumbs right now, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of boredom. Like my dad said, we're not normally done this, promptly and ready to go. And even before all this happened, and ultimately the race in Missouri, they technically rained out on Tuesday, and I was kind of assuming that was going to happen. But then I thought, well, we should probably be ready for the next week. And I was like, well, that doesn't really look like that's going to happen anywhere, and for the foreseeable future. Hopefully we can get some racing in by the end of the month of April.
Great. Is it mostly just kind of a wait and see, Terry, or already planning down the road a little bit?
Well, yeah, just basically a wait and see. Everything's pretty much ready to go except for tires, but that's just a matter of going and getting them. The car's shoved over in the corner. I've been working on my 55 Chevy.
Okay, there you go. Well, Kelly, you and I, we've talked about the coronavirus thing, so some ad nauseum, but the way that it's affecting racing, not on the local scene, but NASCAR, and I was down in Florida, and they canceled the St. Petersburg IndyCar Series opener. Just what a mess.
Yeah, it's crazy out there. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what they're doing, but I'm just trying to play along and trying to keep myself busy. I mean, that's all you can really do, right?
That is no doubt about it. I was lucky to get a race in when I was down in Florida, and then that track canceled this week for the race a couple nights ago. Well, there's Around the Track, Around the Room, powered by Varium Racing, as we move on to our live look, brought to you by Bipster Promotions. And our live look is right here. Matt and Terry Ryan, we're proud to have them here in studio. And from Matt, with the racing last year, just in the last 2-3 years, you've been right at the top, and I know 2 years ago lost the national championship like on the last weekend and that kind of thing. But being toward the top, man, what a terrific last 3 years you've had.
It's been a great experience. Really since about 2015, we got back with Masters built race cars and the Kai family. Since that point, the cars have been really good, and Jake Fear, the guy that helps me, has really taken it on a personal interest in understanding everything to the last detail, and it's really helped out, and he's made me look good. Like most of the time, the car is just that good. It ain't nothing that I'm doing.
Hey, over the last few years, who do you like racing with?
Probably of the guys that I race with week in and week out, I enjoy racing with Jeremiah Hurst. Justin Kai, Tyler Bruning, the guys I race with it weekly at Davenport, Andy Nesworski and Chuck Hanna. That all a good group of guys to race with. All of them have definitely know what's going on and are keep me on my toes. That's for sure.
How do you prepare for the different tracks, and what's the difference in preparation, Davenport, Burlington, East Moline for you?
Like for Davenport, Davenport's like my one odd track that we really kind of change everything we do because it just seems we need to have the car a lot freer at Davenport. So like all week's preparation is basically getting ready for Davenport and then switching everything back over to go to Burlington and East Moline the next nights. And it's that seems to work out a lot better than we've done in the past where we just do the same thing over and over again. And, it's like running into a wall repeatedly. So going with a better plan, we prepare for Davenport and then change accordingly as the weekend goes.
I know last year you were excited when Burlington added the IMCA late models.
I started my career at 34, racing the first probably 4 or 5 years that I raced. My dad was still driving.
99.
Wow.
At Davenport and the Theory Series, and he offered me hey, you want to start racing at Burlington? And so that was the only place I raced for the first 5 years I raced. And so when they got late models back, I was really excited. For me, it was like going home. So every time we go to Burlington, I get a feeling of going home.
Excellent. Terry, how far back does racing go for you?
Back to when my mom took me to the first race. I'm 8 years old. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Wait, was that Davenport?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then, through high school, I always kept an eye on them and kind of busy doing other things. And then I started helping Raleigh about 73 or 74 and helped him till like 84. And then I had, in that course I got married and I had 2 kids, Matt and sister Jenny. And there was 2 little kids at home and I was over at Raleigh Frank's house every night. So that wasn't going over too well. So I thought, I'm going to get me a modified. So I got one. I put it together in my garage and I was home every night. I was out in the garage, but I was home.
Closer to home than being in Raleigh's garage, huh?
Yep.
Well, that was such, and I was growing up in this area at that time, and watching you and Raleigh progress in that late model. I know he started, and as the years went on, got more competitive and that kind of thing. What was the key there? I know you want to say you, but
it wasn't me. It was probably me not helping him anymore because he had to go seek help from different people, and he got hooked up with a guy named Rich Cook that worked for Gary Oliver.
Sure.
And Rich really kind of got him rolling. So, yeah, it was a good deal, probably a good deal for both of us. So
great. So did you coerce Matt into racing, or did he want to go to racing?
Well, I bought him a go-kart, a racing cart, along the way there, and I thought it'd be a fun thing for dad's son to do, spare time, which I didn't have any spare time. And I found out that they take go-kart racing really, really serious. So after a few years of that, he's out of high school, and I thought, might as well get him into the car.
There you go. So what's your first recollection of racing, Matt?
Go-kart racing was, when I started doing that was the only thing in the world that existed to me. It was a fun time. I had a great time doing it. But as I got older, I realized that this was not very. I was a little bit heavy for those go-karts by the time I was in high school. So I thought it'd really be nice if the old man let me drive the car that can hold a little bit heavier man.
And so then, was that modified then, or you went into, or was it a late model by then?
It was late models. I didn't actually drive anything but a late model until the last few years that I get a chance to drive Justin Kai's backup car.
Right. 'Cause I saw that. I know it tipped in last year. So what do you think of the difference there? What kind of differences are there for you?
They're completely different. The late model seems to drive, just the physical driving of it is probably a lot easier, but the modified, it's actually like, they're actually really hard to drive. And, you know, after driving it, for years I'd watch it and I was like, yeah, I'm not really that interested in the modifieds. And then I actually got to drive one, and it was a lot of fun driving them, and it was way harder than I ever thought it would be. You know, my hat was off to all the modified guys around the country after that experience, and I thought, yeah, that's not anywhere near as easy to drive as a late model. But the late model seems to be, everything else has to go a lot more right than just it drives easy.
Sure, absolutely. Terry, back in the days when Raleigh Frank was racing and that kind of thing, where have you seen, what are some of the things that you've seen as far as late model racing progressing to the point where it is now?
Oh, back in them days, we actually had the like GM production parts in the car. But now, you know, you get a late model out, there's not one GM part number on anything, or a OE part number. It's all aftermarket, and the cost is escalated. You got to keep on top of it.
Right. So now you win the national championship, and you had a great championship party. I enjoyed going out there for that, and then you get ready for the new season. So what goes into getting ready for the new season?
You know, after we sobered up after the partying festivities, it was time to get back to work. We're pretty much working with the same car. It was new last year. So it was disassemble the car and go through all the parts and make sure that everything is working correctly and doesn't appear to have any stress or wear on it. Put it back together, keeping in mind that it's a new year, new season, and running with a different sanctioning body. It was kind of have to pay a lot more attention to the body rules and the other safety rules that SLMR has, and put the car together with that in mind, and having to pass tech in both series, which is, you know, slightly different, but, you know, it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Very good. And that's our live look, one brought to you by Bibster Promotions. Of course, we got the entire show with Matt Ryan and Terry Ryan. Matt, the 2019 IMCA National Champion. And time to get into our Guess the Driver for this week. And we're not going to give away a prize, really. We're going to practice our social distancing, but at least we're going to play along. You can, if you got an answer, just put it up on the Facebook page on Done Right TV, and don't put it on my Facebook page. A lot of people like to do that, and don't do that, but put it on the Done Right Facebook page. And the first few clues. First of all, this is a sport mod driver, and his car number has a letter in it, 2 numbers and a letter, and he is 30. I got to do my math here. 36 years old, and he's been married for 5 years. So that's the first few clues. And again, that's our Guess the Driver, brought to you by Done Right TV, taking the answers on the Done Right Facebook page. And we'll get back to giving away prizes. We'll see how this COVID-19 goes. So we move to our On the Wheel, our roundtable racing topic, and with our panel and that kind of thing. We just talk about, again, just bringing up, we got a mixture of things, the COVID-19 already interrupting some of the schedules and that kind of thing. But Matt, once the racing gets going, what are the goals?
We'll start the season off, probably more than likely, racing weekly in the beginning of the year specials, if we get off the ground with that. For the first few nights, we'll run all the SLMR races and run our weekly stuff, and they don't really seem to interfere till around mid-June. And at that point, as long as all schedules stay the same at that point, then we would have to make a decision whether we want to run for the SLMR points or the IMCA national points. But I guess the goal, as always, is to win the races and make sure when I'm in my hometowns that we do the best we can.
Yeah, no, Kelly, it's amazing. We talk to a lot of drivers, see a lot of drivers, and the goals are to get the car on the trailer in one piece or not break anything. But these guys go out they're one of those teams that can win any night out.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you can count on them always going at it, right? You know, you and Jeremiah and Kai and Andy. You know what I mean? You're always in the top 5. It seems like, and that's fun, man. So good job. Right. You always go after it. It's fun to watch.
It definitely is. Terry, from the pit standpoint, what are the goals when you get to the racetrack and goals for the season?
Oh, try and stay awake.
That's always good.
I'm notorious for taking a nap after we get there.
That just means you're doing your job. Everything's ready to go, right?
Well, I got to change the gear because they take care of everything else, and then I sit in the trailer and I have my little spot there, and you know, we go out there. We usually don't hot lap. We run the heat, and you know, then it's like 2 hours before we're out for the feature. So,
and what's your favorite track? Which is your favorite track?
Oh, Davenport.
Excellent. The quarter mile or the half mile?
Yeah, definite quarter mile.
I know we were talking before we went on and talking about the half mile show that Davenport has scheduled, and you're a little squeamish about listening to your motor scream, aren't you?
Yeah, all the way around that half mile. When I was racing it, you used to have to get off of it and get into the turn, then ease back in the throttle and drive down the straightaways. Now you just hold it open.
Flat foot all the way around.
Flat foot.
But that's great. And now, as the season progresses, and you're looking at the competition, and who knows what the competition is going to be like on the SLMR, and I'm sure you have an idea. But how do you adjust your driving styles and things like that?
The big difference for like the driving styles is like when you get onto big half miles like Davenport versus like little bull rings like East Moline, contact, a lot of it is it's a little more acceptable at somewhere like East Moline, where that same contact will not be very welcomed on the Davenport half mile. I guess that's depending on who you talk to, but generally when these guys are yelling at me, it's because there was contact somewhere there shouldn't have been. So that's probably the biggest difference is knowing where you can push and where you can't, and depending on the track and really the where you're at. Davenport's kind of there's not really the need for that. It's plenty wide and there's plenty of different grooves, where Moline just gets tight, and then you can try as you might, but you're gonna touch. So that's probably the biggest difference as a mindset is knowing when to be aggressive and knowing when that maybe that aggression is gonna get you in trouble.
I understand that. What are your thoughts on the Petersons as promoters at East Moline this coming year?
I'm excited. Jeff's been doing the track the last couple years over there. The track's been pretty good. They're going to put some new clay down. That'll be interesting. Hopefully that lays in well. And I think that, they seem very ambitious about promoting late models in the area. And I'm excited to go to a lot of the races that they're going to have.
Are you at a point where you can jump in on some of those open shows, or are you going to try and set those out and just run the weekly?
We're going to try to get to as many as we can, just depending on the time and scheduling of the events. And we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely go to a couple of them for sure.
What do you like about the Master-built chassis?
It's familiarity for me. Going back to, this car or these cars since 15, they're not a whole lot different. They change little things in them, and these are basically all, originally geared ups and then S and J cars, but they were built the same way, and the just little things that they change over the course of the years. But it's really just being familiar with it and knowing it, the ins and outs of everything. So when something's a little off, I know right away. And if I was driving a different kind, I wouldn't be that familiar with it, and I think it would be a big struggle, really.
What do you like about the Masters built, Terry?
Just basically what he said, with familiarity, and if we got a different chassis, it'd be like starting over again.
I bet. Are they? If you have to call them up with a question, anything along that line, are they pretty easy to work with?
Oh yeah, Tater's real easy to get a hold of, and we got questions. He's got the race know-how videos, and you call out to Masters. They're pretty good bunch for answering any questions you got. On a more local level, you call Scotty Fitzpatrick. He generally set you in the right direction.
Sometimes Tater's calling Scotty.
I know Scott Fitzpatrick knows his stuff, so that doesn't surprise me. And Tater, and I know that they're trying to Tater's trying to increase the program again, trying to get the program elevated again.
Yeah, with Hudson O'Neal driving the house car when he's back to full strength. And fortunately, I guess this little break in the action is pretty good for Hudson to get healed up and get Tater's car back out on the track. And I'm excited to see Hudson driving that. It'll be a fun year to watch him.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm excited to see Don drive one.
Yeah, back in. Yep, going to be in one also. But yeah, and I know somebody. I haven't looked at his schedule, but I know Hudson was planning on coming over this way for a few of the races. So we'll see how that see how that works out. Hey, our guest, the driver again, is a Sport Mod driver, and with two numbers and a letter in his card number, and he's 36 years old, and he's been married for 5 years. A couple other new things. He formerly lived in Winter Park, Florida, and he graduated from Louisa Muscatine High School in 2002. So we'll keep giving you. And again, you can guess on the Done Right TV Facebook page. So again, it's a Sport Mod driver, and he's a pretty darn good one. We see him a lot up around this way as well. And we talk with Matt Ryan and Terry Ryan here on the Go Fast podcast. Don't forget, even after tonight, you can catch it on the Facebook page, on the YouTube page. We're live on both of those right now, and also on wherever you can find your favorite podcasts, whether it's Google Play or Spotify, iTunes. You can listen to it on that podcast. And with Matt Ryan and Terry Ryan, and we go into just kind of a year where it's a wait and see, not only because of COVID-19, but with the late model world kind of in an uproar with the Deary Brothers Series gone and that kind of thing. Is there a race that you're looking forward to more than any other this season?
I guess for me, it's I haven't won the Yankee, and I've been close, so that it's probably still the Yankee, but I guess that'd be more of an SLMR race. As far as IMCA goes, I think the Super Nationals be pretty interesting this year. With no Deary Series, I know that they're going to pump a lot more into the weekly guys showing up to Super Nationals for the late model event mainly. That ought to be a pretty interesting payout, and the contingencies that'll be attached with it are always awesome, but I'm assuming they'll be more so this year.
Hey, how do you like running that on Labor Day?
Like the Super Nationals are, I'd surely love to be up there without a race car and no cares. That's never really been the case. The circus that it is for when you're up there for one night to get in and out of there, it's absolutely insane.
I bet.
It drives me nuts.
We've been up there before, and they got us parked in there, and Dad pulled her in there, and we had like 3 inches on each side of the doors, and I was like, how do you plan on getting out of here? I hadn't thought about that. And then when we were trying to get out of there, the neighbor guy was a truck driver. He says, I think I can probably get you guys out of there, because by then Dad had given up on trying to get out. Like, well, I guess we're staying then.
Well, they pack 25, 30 late models in with 400 modifieds and 400 stock cars and all that. That has to be get you wedged in just right.
Yeah, it's quite an event to see. Like I said, I'd like to spend the whole week up there without a car, or at least run the modified portion of it for the week with somebody else to do the work on the car, because something tells me it would make for a long week.
That's probably not going to happen.
Well, yeah, you go up there with the modified or the stock car or the hobby stock or whatever, but a modified you're running every single night.
Yeah, I mean the prelude starts like Sunday, and then you get Monday and Tuesday off, but then they run Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday again, and it's definitely a hectic schedule, and a lot of the stuff them guys go through up there, it's crazy, and it's cool to see, but it's also a big headache, especially if you're trying to get in and out of there in one day.
I bet. And of course, Terry, you never can count on the weather at Boone, can you?
No. Sometimes I've been pretty happy it's rained out.
Or sometimes you may be running, be rain delayed, and you run till 5 o'clock in the morning, and you got to turn around and run again at 8 o'clock in the morning.
That happened, 2 years ago, and luckily I didn't go that year.
Smart move.
I went that year. It was 5:30 in the morning, and I watched Tyler Drosty's A Main, and I thought it's time to go to bed for me.
I had hip replacement surgery like a week before that. I think I intentionally scheduled it then.
It's a smart move. The Kais, you race for them at Davenport. You drive their cars and all that. Your thoughts on the Kais?
Great family. I was really glad that Ricky and Brenda decided to come aboard to promote at Davenport Speedway and carry on, keep the doors open there, and really take off with it. Great people, and I'm really glad that they're in the sport of racing and not just farming, and that I'm really glad that Justin's not a tractor puller.
Yeah, that's right. We're with Matt Ryan and Terry Ryan here on the Go Fast podcast, and we're glad you're with us here on Facebook and YouTube. We are live, and again, don't forget you can, if you want to re-listen to it, you can on both these entities, and then also wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And guess the driver clues. This is a Sport Mod driver. He's got 2 numbers and a letter, and he's 36 years old, just turned 36. He's been married for 5 years, formerly from Winter Park, Florida, and he graduated from Louisa Muscatine High School in 2002. He's a former assistant golf professional, and the name of his car this year is Skye, Skye 2.0. And I'll tell you, he's from Muscatine. So if you know who that is, chime in on the Facebook page. It's all for show this week. We'll take a week off from giving things away just to practice the social distancing and that kind of thing. But next week, hopefully, we'll give away another T-shirt, and we'll get. Yeah, I think wrong Terry Ryan, but that's all right, Mitch. But that's okay. Do you get mixed up with the other Terry Ryan a lot?
Not so much anymore, but years ago, yeah, a lot.
Right.
I had Butch Hartman call me and get me out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning one day, thinking I was the other Terry Ryan.
What a great story.
Yeah, I know. I see Terry around town. He's my buddy, and he's doing well, but I don't think Colleen's doing all that well.
Oh, well, we have Terry and Colleen in our thoughts and prayers. But yeah, when you heard about Terry Ryan and NASCAR and all that, then all of a sudden Terry Ryan's helping Raleigh Frink and no, a different Terry Ryan. But so I bet you had to go through that a lot.
Oh yeah, when somebody asks me, if I'm the Terry Ryan that races, I have to ask them which races that they're talking about, whether it's the NASCAR races or the local dirt tracks.
Right. We can just say yes because you were. Hey, being a teacher, Matt, how do the kids know you race?
Most of them do. A lot of times, like I have kindergarten, so every year there's new kids that they don't know me at all, and so some of them, it's a whole new concept. No idea what a race car is. Like you have a race car, Mr. Ryan, and for some of them, a lot of the little ones that they get a hold of that. They're like, oh, that's pretty cool, and it makes my job a lot easier. But this year I actually had a kindergartner. I turned 40 this year, and didn't really think much of it. Hadn't put a whole lot of thought into it, and I just, it's just another day, whatever. I'm not old yet. And the kindergarten, I was walking through the gym, and she says, "You're friends with my grandpa." And I looked down, and I recognized the little girl and recognized who her grandpa was, and I thought to myself, well, yep, you're officially old. You're friends with grandpas.
you get there in a hurry. I remember that, and then all of a sudden, my kids are 20, 27, and 31, and all of a sudden they're old, and it makes me older. What's your favorite part about teaching?
I enjoy the kids. Just seeing the expressions and different things they come up with as the day progresses, and then seeing them really age from kindergarten through 8th grade, really from childhood to basically into adults by the time they leave for high school. It's pretty cool to watch kids progress that. And I teach art, so I have the fun class, so most of them enjoy it. It's not like I'm making them do math or something like that.
Do you make them draw race cars?
I've never made them do it, but I do get a lot of race car ideas for what my car should look like.
Love
it. That's great. We're talking with IMCA national champion Terry Ryan, his dad Matt Ryan, his dad Terry Ryan, and I screwed that up once last year, and I swear I think it was. Autocorrect. I typed the story and I put Terry Ryan in it instead of Matt Ryan and posted it. And then, oh man, I took flack from that and all the comments and all that. Oh, Terry, I didn't know you were racing again, and that kind of thing. But it's great to have you both here. And this is the part of the show where we talk about tech and let's talk about the technical aspects of the late model car. What are some of the things that you deal with on a technical basis that you see are important and B are sometimes a headache?
Just tech in general, as far as some of the body rules are mainly what we deal in now, because the engine, if you're playing in gray areas with the engine, that seems to get it really expensive. So, the bodies in the late models are, the big advantage. That's the big difference between them and the rest of the cars. Well, what you can get through tech is generally a big deal. How low can I get my nose through? How high is my deck? And knowing where that limit is and where, they're going to send you back and make you change it or disqualify you. Finding those limits is sometimes costly, but anymore these days, it's definitely a necessary thing.
Sure, I bet. And from the pit standpoint, what kind of things, Terry, are you looking at on a technical basis with the car? That, well, we already talked about how some of the things have changed over the years, but now the tech aspect nowadays with the late models.
Shocks. A lot of shocks, but we only own one set of shocks, and they're adjustable. And I used to do all that, years ago, and then got to double into adjustable shocks, and I says, I don't understand them. It's up to you guys.
Well, the shocks, the tires, the motors, and it's amazing nowadays how. And this has, progressed over the last few years, but you got to have the entire package together, don't you?
Yeah. In the last just the few years that the shocks that have advanced this much, the big misconception is that they're so expensive, but they're really not. And that it's knowing what to do with them is the thing. And by no means do I have any clue what to do with them. I just follow the sheet. But
that's right.
It's really been a big difference from when I started. It just oil shocks off the shelf. You run them on a Penn dyno, and you'd pick the best one of the 6 shocks that were built the same, but they're all a little bit different. Where now, if you don't like that, you just send them in. The shock guy will change them to whatever you want that dyno sheet to say. And that's probably been the hardest thing to really get a hold of. And fortunately, over the years, we've had a lot of good help with shocks.
Excuse me.
From, we've had basically 3 shock builders, and all of them have done great jobs for us and made our jobs a lot easier, just basically telling us what we need to do for each track condition. But that's probably been like the biggest adjustment is how these things adjust and when to do it. Because most of the time when I'm left to my own devices, I'll do exactly the opposite of what I should have done.
Excellent. Our tech tip for tonight. We continue talking with Terry Ryan and Matt Ryan, and keep going with our guest, the driver clue, Sport Mod driver from Muscatine, Iowa. His car number is 17C. He's 36 years old, and he's been married for 5 years, formerly from Winter Park, Florida. His car name this year is Sky 2.0. If anybody has a guess on the Done Right Facebook page. And thank you, Brett Sievertson. You made me feel a lot better. I told the story where I typed Terry Ryan instead of Matt Ryan, and Brett said did that almost every week when I turned points into IMCA. So.
Maybe that was why there was a tie.
There's the real reason.
There's a real reason. That's hilarious, and we continue talking with the Ryans, and Kelly, I know you're involved now with Sport Mod driver Tyler Soppy and all that, but you really fell in love with the late models, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, and Maya's they're just fun to hang out with, and especially with the competition with these guys every week. I mean, it was the same 5 or 6 drivers every week, and it was always clean and it was always fun, but it blows me away. You guys talk about shocks and tires and stuff, but there's way more to it than that. Come on. I mean, there's so many different adjustments on them cars. And I had no idea until I started hanging out with Maya and the guys, and I'm like, I had no idea that, I mean, the rear end, there's 500 different, things you could do back there. The shocks, you could, they put different pressures. I mean, I have no idea, but, tire pressure, gearing.
Messing with the 4 bars.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-blowing. All the stuff, and when you know how the cars work, I mean, people just go to the track and see them go around in circles, but when you know how the car actually works, it's pretty cool technology, man. I mean, that's what kind of blows me away. It's like people don't realize what's going on in that car when it's going around the track. I don't know how fast do you go around the track? What's the fastest speed you get up to?
Faster than the guy behind me.
There you go. That's the goal, right?
Speed wise, it really depends where you're at. With the IMCA package, maybe 90. The SLMR, probably like Davenport half mile. Probably just right at 100 miles an hour. I'm completely guessing.
Well, you know what? We're going to be able to answer that this year because I found a guy that is going to work on my GoPros, and he said that you can get like G-forces and speeds right from the GoPro.
That'd be cool. I'd be curious to know.
So we'll put one on the car.
People used to ask me, how fast we're going, and I said, if I can't catch the guy in front of me, not fast enough, and I get sideways or backwards, I'm going way too fast.
It's so competitive, and we've talked about seeing great races with you, Jeremiah, Chuck Hanna, Andy Nazworski, all the late model guys, and all that. What's the camaraderie like in that class?
It's pretty good. Any of these guys, anything goes wrong, everybody's there to help them out, get them what they need to get them back on track. We generally, most of us spend entirely too much time together after the races. And but
Speaking of Jeremiah,
it definitely keeps a friendly environment and atmosphere, and it builds a lot of lifelong friendships out of it.
Excellent. And Brett Sievertson clarified that it wasn't this past year; it was a few years back. He said. So no need to go recount the IMCA points last year. But hey, Jared Jones, you're absolutely correct. Shane Paris is our driver of the week, and Jared, looking forward. Hopefully, get to see a lot of you down at CJ.
Yeah, somebody else guessed that earlier, Rob.
Oh, did they really? I didn't see that. I'm sorry. Whoever.
Sure.
Leah, you got it also. Leah, congratulations.
Double winner.
Yeah, yep,
We'll
double
make
winner.
It up to both of you. Write that down. When we can socially interact with them, we'll get them.
Absolutely. Leah, I'm sorry I missed that. It scrolled right by me, but Leah and Jared. And Jared, looking forward to seeing you race this year, buddy, down at CJ. So I bet Shane Paris, our driver of the week. As we start to wrap things up, we still got a few minutes left. As you take a look at the late models, and I'm not going to say everybody because the families of the modifieds and all that will get mad at me, but a lot of the fans like to see the late models. And so what kind of things do you put up with from the fans and all that?
For me, I enjoy the fans of racing in all forms, but probably the most common thing is just people want autographs or the hero cards and whatnot, and I'm just not that organized of a person to have all that stuff on me all the time. But I generally do have a Sharpie, or I can generally borrow one from who's parked right next to me. So, but if there's no fans, we don't have any race cars. So, in the end, this is what my kids, they could care less about school being closed, but they want to know, and Daddy, when are we going to go to the track? So, I mean, and I have 3 little girls. They get excited about it, and the fact that they get excited, it definitely makes me a lot more excited about it. So
his 2-year-old, anytime on TV, if there's a race car, it's Dad.
Excellent.
According to the 2-year-old, I have never lost a race, and I've won every cup race this season.
Right on, right on, and that is probably written down in the archive somewhere. So Matt Ryan is undefeated. But we talk about the different rules packages and all that, and also I saw on there that Sheila Ryan has been watching. Of course, Sheila kind of keeps both of you in line, doesn't she?
She keeps him in line for sure.
Somebody needs to keep her in line sometimes.
Well, we love Sheila, who of course is Terry's wife, Matt's mom, and we love seeing Sheila at the racetrack, and always a sweetheart. We were talking about the IMCA and SLMR, and then we talk about Mars and that kind of thing, and all the different changes that have to be made to cars and that kind of thing. I remember, back in the days of the Raleigh Franks and the Gary Webbs and that kind of thing, you could jump from track to track pretty much, couldn't you? And without a whole lot of changes. And
oh yeah, I remember racing like at Tipton on Sunday afternoon, and then loading up and going to East Moline that night. The same set of tires and everything.
Right, you just put it on. You
Change the gear.
Change the gear, and that's about it. Yeah. And then you go from a Davenport on a Friday to a West Liberty on a Saturday or something along that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have a Busch All-Star Tour race in Webster City, and there probably wasn't a whole lot that you had to change then either, was there?
No, nothing like now. Nothing like now. I mean, they all played with things a little bit back then, and I don't think you just stuck tires on. I maybe started sanding them along the lines back then, but now you get a new tire before it hits a race car. Half of it's laying on the garage floor.
That's right. You mentioned your family, Matt, and how important is it to have them on board with you?
My wife Molly, she definitely allows me to carry on in this sport. I have 3 little girls, Delilah, Elise, and Emerson. They're 12, 7, and 2. So my house is generally very, very busy, and without my wife taking care of the 3 of them all the time, I could not race at all in any aspect. So my hat's definitely off to her, and I really enjoy that she brings the kids to the races and does a good job with that, and it really excites me more than anything.
Very good, and hey, it's got to be exciting having grandkids, I bet.
Oh yeah. We have 5 grandkids. Are all girls.
All girls, really?
Yeah. Yep. Lucky us. No, it's all right. It's all girls, but that's fine.
Well, Travis Denning just chimed in, my hero, and and he says, not Matt, Terrence. Leave it up to TD, right?
It's true.
Look forward to seeing a lot of Travis Denning this year, whether it's a modified or a late model. But as we just take a look at the sport of racing, you look and we've gone from back in the day where maybe 3, maybe at the most 4 classes, and now we're running 6, 7 classes at racetracks. So how does that, with all those classes, how does that deal with you?
for me, it just makes for a really long night because generally we're, the late models, we're generally last. And, I get the need or the want for this many classes, but I think in the grand scheme of things for weekly racing to continue, there's really got to be a subtraction of classes. But, how do you tell a guy, hey, we're not going to run your class anymore? So, I mean, there's a lot of problems in the schematics of that. But I think ultimately, people want to watch 30 cars in a class, not 10 cars. And I think that would be the end-all goal. But how to get there is anybody's guess. So, I for the time being, I suppose, we'll just enjoy the time in between races.
Absolutely. And Terry, the mathematics just have changed with the racing and the racing classes in the last 30 years or so.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always been support classes or other classes. There's quite a few now. Well, on the plus side, I get plenty of time for my nap.
well, and the car gets prepared. I know that helps with getting with car preparation.
Yeah, when he's napping and I'm out keeping the other drivers from talking to their crews, Jake Fears actually going through my car with a fine-tooth comb, and I come back and ask him, what'd you do? And he'll just tell me, don't worry about it, get in and drive it.
And I noticed on your bio sheet you did for me last year Jake's name on there. Now, is he any relation to Bob Fear?
It's Bob's son.
Is it really?
Yep.
I remember Bob racing back in the day, and so that's got to be in Jake's blood too. Then
the one thing that I get to enjoy to hang over Fear's head for all of eternity is his dad's last win at West Liberty. He was not present for, and I was there to see it.
I met Bob in first grade.
Really? Did you really?
Oh yeah. And we've been buddies ever since. We still are.
Yeah, and it was always fun to watch him race because I know he came up through the ranks, so it sounds like he taught Jake pretty well.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of similarities.
Well, when you have a crew chief like Jake and that kind of thing that knows the car inside out, how much easier does that make your job?
It makes my job so much easier, not having to worry about where the 4 bars are going, what hole the shock's in. Mainly he just tells me to make sure that I have the shocks where they need to be, and he handles everything else. And it's definitely made a lot less thinking at the track, and I can focus on where I'm starting, or at least have an idea of where I might be starting at, and then just being able to freely move about and just worry about the driving end of it.
Excellent. Do you like starting inside or outside, or does it depend?
If I have a choice, it's got to be on the outside. But there's times that the inside might be more productive. But I like being able to see what's going on. So if the guy, if there's traffic in front of me and we're doubled up, I'd like to be able to get on the outside so I can peek up a little bit higher, so I can kind of see what the plan is for what's ahead of me.
Good. Has that ever backfired on you?
Oh yeah. About every time I think I'm making a great decision taking this outside start, and the next thing you know, I've lost 5 spots.
Being one of those drivers and you guys got the car and great driving and all that, and you're always a threat to win every night. Is there disappointment when you don't win?
Not normally. Being really slow for a lot of years when I started, it's, winning. It's awesome, but there's definitely no shame in getting, fourth. It's more or less how did the night end as far as could I have done anything different? I mean, there's been nights that I've won races that I shouldn't have won. There's been nights that I got 4th on races that I should have won. But in the end, it's more about the experience of getting there and how it happened. I mean, there's the moments that it happened that, maybe I would take back and maybe I wouldn't. But it's really not so much the win necessarily all the time. For me, I've never really been disappointed getting second. I have gotten out of the car and made a comment about getting second after so many nights, but yeah, it's, that's kind of a couple years ago. That was kind of the running joke with me and Hurst. I think he had like 12 seconds in a row, and we'd race them every Saturday in Maquoketa, and I won like 2 nights in a row, and I was like, Maya, is that your 9th second tonight? The shoe was on the other foot shortly after that, later in the year, and I would have been happy with a second at that point. But
Second's usually a pretty good check, though.
Yeah, better than third or last, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, better than third.
But Kelly, we see these guys, and just the last couple of years, especially at Maquoketa, and 2 years ago, man, what a season that was! Matt Ryan, Jeremiah Hurst, Nizworski, Doug Nye. In fact, Doug Nye's been watching, and he already runs. Well, we had 3 wide racing and all that. What a terrific season!
This last year, you guys, whatever the tie thing, but the year before, wasn't there like 1 or 2 points separating you and Maya?
Yeah, it 1 point ended up being the difference, and it went down to the very last night. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Another example of me getting second.
And you got all the first ones, though, right?
Yeah, I was strong early. He was a little bit stronger late.
Yeah, we won't bring up the last night at Maquoketa. I think you went back on the trailer with only about half the car, if I remember right.
Oh, the last 2 years, that last race at Maquoketa has been, 2 years ago it dashed my hopes, and this year it looked like it was going to do the same. And I guess we don't have to worry about going to Maquoketa anymore, though. But
Nope.
That's a shame that the Fair Board can't get some late models up there at some point.
I guess I got an MLRA show scheduled, and I think Wagner's coming in to do that. Bob Wagner, I believe, is doing that show. But
Maquoketa was one. I don't race, but Maquoketa is one of my favorite tracks. It's got to be. Is it one? How's it rate on around here?
I like Maquoketa a lot. My personal favorite's Moline, but that's because there's a wall. If we put a wall around Maquoketa, I'd be all in on that too.
And why is that? You like bouncing off, or just having something to bounce off of?
It makes the longer I've done this, I've grown a liking for running on the top, and running around the top of Moline's a lot easier than running around the top of Davenport, because if I screw up, it's just going to bounce off that wall a little bit. But if you screw up at Davenport, there's no wall to hold you there, and you're going to go off the edge. Now, with that being said, I think Fear and my father would probably wish there was no wall at East Moline, as the deck is generally needed to repair shortly after the heat race every night.
Right rear quarter panel doesn't have a long life expectancy.
Right, and a few sparks. That's gotta make your heart stop when you see the sparks coming off of that thing.
Oh yeah, a couple of years ago we put a brand new body on and went to LaSalle. It didn't look too good at the end of the night.
Joe Hayes says, "Nice job, Team Ryan. You're getting better. You're getting good at this interview thing." So we're talking with IMCA national champion Terry Ryan, or Matt Ryan, and his dad Terry Ryan, and we start coming down the home stretch, final laps of our Go Fast podcast, and some racing birthdays from around the area this past week. Jordan Miles, that's one of Jerry Miles' sons, and Jerry just had a birthday here, I believe, recently. Joe Lever from down in Muscatine. He is see him down at CJ Raceway. Richard Nelson had a birthday this week. So did Jeff Peterson from Peterson Family Promotions. Mitchell Strayer, modified driver. I think he sold his modified, though, but he's always been a racer. Dylan Embry, one of our four-cylinder racers from Maquoketa. Luke Murfeld had a birthday this week. And Zach Zuberbeyer, who actually is tuned in every once in a while. He lives up around the Kankakee, Illinois area, but he won last year's Ron Marks Memorial over at the Bull Ring. He also had a birthday, so happy birthday to all of our local racers. And from the racing world, open wheel and big block modified star Will Cagle had a birthday this past week, as did open wheel and IndyCar's Larry Rice. He was born this week in 1946. IndyCar Scott Pruitt has celebrated a birthday. Off-Road Truck Hall of Famer Rob McCachran had a birthday. I got to know Rob real well when I lived out in the Las Vegas area. He's from Las Vegas, and he's done that off-road truck racing his whole life. Excuse me, and he celebrated a birthday. Dirt late model driver Tony Jackson Jr. had a birthday. Andy Granatelli was born this week back in 1923. The great Mark Donahue also, along with Jeff Brabham. NASCAR's Paige Decker is 27 years old this week. Billy Schumann, the Racing Schumans out of Arizona, and Casey is now race director for World of Outlaw late models. Formula One's Ayrton Senna had a birthday this week, as did Dirt Late Model star Josh Richards and the late, great Johnny Beauchamp, born this week in 1923. And he was a NASCAR great, and he was from Iowa, from Harlan, Iowa. So happy birthday to all those celebrating a birthday this week as we put the final thoughts. And mostly it's just, now we get to sit and wait and see when all this sorts out. But thoughts on higher things, just for the people that are they're going through the coronavirus and all that. But I know we're ready to get racing season started.
Definitely.
Okay, and Terry, you all ready for racing season then?
Oh, I'm ready.
Right? Yeah. You guys were ready to get, like you said, we're ready to go to Memphis, Missouri. So that's great, and we appreciate you guys coming in on late notice and coming in. We had a heck of a time. This was fun.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
This was fun.
It was a lot of fun, and we thank you for coming in. And Kelly, what another show in the books, and we're just going to keep, even if we got to be quarantined right here, we're going to keep on rolling.
We're still going to race, man.
Yep.
And before you know it, we're going to have something to actually talk about for racing. Yeah, we might even have a good show. Have some racing stuff to talk about. Maybe some clips we can show up, that we can throw up.
Absolutely.
And, we'll get there, guys. I mean, it's rough out there, I guess, So, just stay cool. That's all I can say. Help your neighbor out, because it's going to get a little bit worse probably before it gets better, right?
It sounds like it.
So, that's all, just hang in there. It's going to get better. Everything hopefully will work out, but just stay cool and help your neighbor out. That's about all I can say about it.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to race.
Yep. All of us are, and our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that, that has their finger on this, on the COVID-19, and our thoughts, and we pray for our Congress and all that to whatever they need to do, and for Vice President Pence and the task force, and our local authorities. Wow, what they have to go through all that. But again, we keep that in the back of our mind, and we have racing at the front of our mind, and we can't wait to go. And again, thank you to Matt and Terry Ryan for coming in. For Kelly Jeffries, I'm Rob Hinckley. Checker flag on this edition of the Go Fast podcast, brought to you by Dunright TV, Dish TV, 1-800 Water Damage, Bipster Promotions, Varium Racing, and Simply Modified Photography. Till next Monday, God bless and good night.
Thanks, guys.